Oh, yeah, sorry. That's enough, right?
Oh, yeah.
Sure. Most wins, a lot of tables. That's not too bad. For some reason, created that in the meeting or some of the other pads.
I know.
It's all 50 points at the same time. So she's sorry about that. Yeah, I think it's $60. That's right.
Call this meeting to order. Agenda, day October 9, 2023. Chambers call to order. Patrick.
Here.
Dolly.
Here.
Cobb. Morgan.
Here.
Renslow.
Here.
Agenda approval, consent agenda, approval of minutes of 9/11/2023 and joint meeting of 9/11/2023. Approval of financial statements as of 9/30/2023. Approval of bills as presented. Approval of liquor license, Casey Marketing, Cypress Mexican Restaurant. Motion.
Mayor, I ask that number 10 be moved up to the top so that way we can ensure that Jim's here.
I'll put it after 4. So, did you make it? Moved by Cobble?
I'll second it.
Second by Patrick, how you vote? Patrick,
Yes.
Dolly,
Yes.
Cobble,
Yes.
Morgan,
Yes.
Renslow.
Yes.
And I want to read the letter before we start. As we begin our council meeting, I'd like to remind you that the protocol that I intend to use to keep meetings orderly. Please remember that these meetings are intended to conduct all city business, and it is important that we are able to conduct such business with a minimum interruptions to the general public. I would ask that anyone who has questions or concerns, please raise your hand and wait to be acknowledged by me before speaking. When you're called upon, please approach the podium. Council members, if you see anyone raising his or her hand, please inform me, acknowledge them at the appropriate time. Okay, tree stump removal, 4A. We have 1, 2, 3, 5 bids. And everybody has the sheet, right? It looks like the lowest bid we have is S&L Tree Management, $3,726.
I got a quick question. I know we had some paperwork put on the desk here. Was there a reason why that paper was in there? I know we talked about it and passed that. Is it just for information?
Just my daughter's gonna talk about the sports complex.
Just
Just so you know.
Just an FYI.
Just so you know.
Okay, you know, if there's something you're gonna look on this.
So, you wanna make a motion on taking the lowest bid for tree stump?
And that's where this money's coming out.
No, this is the cemetery and park. We've already paid Klein for the soccer complex. It was 3,000 some, and that did come out of 150,000.
So we are bidding for cemetery park.
Parks.
This says sports complex.
It does?
It
Yep.
does.
I'm sorry,
Oh.
that's my fault for not being.
No, that's not the sports complex.
Okay, so
But
this is.
some of it's coming out of parks. if tree stumps are being coming out of parks, should that be partially coming out of the 150?
Well,
I mean, we're improving our parks.
Yeah,
Where is
it's
the money
okay,
coming from?
even the cemetery, I think it's okay to, because it's a small amount, we can take it out of the 150. That's okay with you.
No, it isn't. We designated so much money, Ash, for that sports complex.
But so where's the money coming from?
I don't know.
Somewhere out of Jim's budget that shouldn't be coming as we always do?
It's not a big amount.
No,
so-
it is, it doesn't matter if it's a big amount or not, it's all coming out, it piles up, it all is. So where's, I mean, I'd like to know where the money's coming from, because
Where
if
was
it's
you gonna
coming from
take
the
it out of,
parks,
Ash?
if part of this is
Cemetery
from the
and
parks, then it should be coming from that 150 that we have, because it's improving our parks.
Just the park side, not the
Yeah,
cemetery.
not the cemetery side, just the park side.
So do we have a split up on this, so we know?
Will he
Jim, how many
itemize it?
trees we have?
It wasn't asked to be bid that way,
No.
so you're probably just gonna have to take the total number and divide it by the total.
that's, yeah.
Yeah, can we do that percentage? Is that, I mean, not every tree is the same, but
Right.
we just total number of trees, this many were
Yep.
parks, this many for cemetery, and we just take that 3726 and take that percentage and allot it.
Yeah, divided by 22.
That's easy calculation.
Perfect.
Okay,
So that would be my motion.
move by Renzo,
I'll second that.
second by Dolly. How do you vote? For Patrick,
Yes.
Dolly,
Yes.
Cobba,
Yes.
Morgan,
Yes.
Renzo.
Yes.
Okay. Soccer complex improvements, Randy Coyle. And then I have a few things I want to add to this.
Really just looking. I have something from it was August. I first approached just some improvements that we wanted, and I know that's where that we had some additional discussions. So just really looking for where we're at with some of those items. So we are wrapping up this fall season of soccer, looking forward to our spring season. So trying to plan where would we have fields, what's going to be done, so that way we have an understanding. So really looking for an update, I guess, as far as some of the bigger things. I know the lights and the parking were two of the big things that we were wondering about the status of and where they're at with that.
What about the road? Do we have any, like, that's a roller coaster out there. That road, I'm more concerned with the road than I am the parking. It's bad.
I agree, it is, yes. But I don't think that was ever
That
planned
was
in
it.
that
Wasn't in the
portion of it or anything.
Where's our balance at from that 150? Because I know
Just 3,000, whatever client had for doing the.
that's all we've spent out of that.
Yep.
Okay.
Jim, can you give an update on you and I working on the drain and possibly the grading out there for parking?
I haven't had a chance, Dick, to do
No,
anything.
but tell them what we're planning on doing.
Well, we've got to, first off, we've got to dye test the storm drainage system around the old football field to figure out where it goes, drains, because we don't know elevation wise if that's gonna work to grade that on the east end of the east goalpost.
Okay.
To make parking there. There is a pretty good sized storm structure in there. So we've got to figure out where that goes and as the elevation is gonna allow us to leave it in place to get the drainage.
Okay.
On
And
that.
Jim's new worker is sanding off the 4 poles. I said if we can, go ahead and do the flagpole. And can you say possibly where the locations are gonna be of the 4 lights?
3 of them, one of them will be up by the existing buildings over here that the PD uses for storage, and we have, the fire department has a training facility there. One will go there, looking at one on the west end of the gravel parking lot by the 2 meter beds that are there.
Okay.
At the east end of the parking lot, and the 4th one is yet to be determined.
Perfect. Okay. And then I guess kind of along those same lines, bathrooms. So I know that was something that we'd asked for too, and that the concern was that all the plumbing and everything is exposed in the bathrooms by the soccer shed, and that's why there's a bigger risk of vandalism. So I think that there was some money budgeted to make improvements to that.
So do we need to get bids for that, Jim, on who,
Which bathroom are we talking
the
about?
one that on the
ones that are
concession
working.
building?
The current one that you're
Yeah.
using now?
Yeah, yeah.
No.
I mean, can you guys do it, or you wanna,
We can take care of it this winter, it'll be inside, so.
and then the other restrooms, we'll have to figure out if
Gonna have
the
some-
sewer works,
You're gonna have some money involved just in figuring out what works and what doesn't.
sewer and water, before we do anything like that.
Alright, that sounds good, that's all I had questions on, and really just looking, for soccer, but I know that some of our other, are wanting to look at some of the options for utilizing the facilities, so best choice is just have them come to the meeting if they have some ideas and stuff, so. Alright, sounds good.
Very
Thank you.
good.
Alright, thank you.
Brandon.
And as far as the sports complex, eventually I would like to see the east shit tore down. And there's 16 tires on the south side of the soccer field, probably from when they used to practice football. And then the old fence posts on the north side of the old football field, remove them sometimes, just aluminum posts. The fence is gone, just
Oh, the
posts.
chain link fence posts,
The
okay.
posts are still there. And then I said, the school does not have any keys to that bathroom, so I suppose we'll have to break into it and see what we can do, figure out the water and the sewer. Okay, that's all I have on that again. Oh, one other thing. Status of Dustin Camp running out of that building, was that a year-long contract, does anybody know?
I don't even know that we saw an initial contract, did we? Like the actual paper contract to approve it? He came up here, he talked, I never saw paper contract saying this is what we were agreeing to.
I mean, there's still food or chips in it, and Barb Boss was not allowed to keep her cleaning supplies for the restrooms in there. So she had to keep them in her car.
Oh, well, I hadn't even seen paper contracts that we were even entering into it. I mean, we agreed verbally to go ahead and have it.
Have them do it, that's, I thought we just said, yeah, you can go.
Might have to circle back with them and just ask.
Okay. Okay, moving on, 5, planning and zoning.
Oh, we forgot number 10.
10, I forgot.
Manhole legal.
Oh, that's one, Forrest is here.
Number 10, what is it? Oh, the manhole.
Oh,
This is the one.
We want to talk about this, and I are gonna give our recommendation on the payment of the project.
Partial payments of Hydro Clean, 49,000.
Yeah, it's not a final, they're not
Okay.
done,
Yes.
so there's still work left to do. Okay,
Well, you've done well informing them to take care of Steve James' stuff. Steve just got a phone call today.
Said it's too late in the season to work on it, they want to do it next spring, and I said, I think we ought to hold, this has been, how long we've got emailing back and forth for us, a long time.
long time.
They could have had it seeded, I think we need to hold money back.
Well, and we still are.
Can we back up and explain what we're talking about?
Well, they got stuck in Steve's ditch, long time,
Steve,
James.
818 north.
hold on. Jim, are you catching this? Sorry. Are you catching this? Steve James's ditch?
I haven't heard any more on it, I'm still waiting for them to fix it.
So, over the winter, yes, Jim's aware of it. Over the winter, they got a vehicle stuck,
They slid off the road, got stuck.
tore up the yard. And so we've been after them to fix the ruts in the yard, level it out, reseed it. I've been after them for a long time,
Yes, you've done well, you've done very well, yes.
and they haven't done that. And so, right now, this is just a partial payment estimate for work to be done. I did not know if they want to wait till spring to seed it. And depends on the weather, but we're withholding, we're withholding about $10,000 in retainage on them. So, we cannot accept the project and not pay that retainage until that is fixed.
Pay this 49, then hold out the 10, to make sure they get it reseeded
Right,
this spring.
Yeah, and there's some other work they still haven't done, and they still need
That
to
is
figure out the chimney seals, there's issues
That
with
is
that,
correct.
so this is just a partial for work they've
And
done.
we have a punch list
We
that you and Jim will work through.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to move this.
Motion by
Second.
Dave, second by Renslow, how do you vote? Patrick,
Yes.
Nolan,
Yes.
Cobal,
Yes.
Morgan, Renslow.
Yes,
Sorry, caught me a little flat-footed there, but.
sorry, I didn't know anything like that. I just wanted to make sure Jim's items were up top so he could get out of here.
Okay, all right. It's Jim.
Five,
No.
planning and zoning recommendation, alley north of Door Deer, and Ben and Loretta had talked to me. The council can discuss this, but I'd like to hear their opinion too on the alley.
What was,
So any, never mind, go ahead.
what are we doing with the alley?
I don't know.
So it
Well,
looks
I
like
don't
it's,
know either. Is somebody from planning and zoning here
that's
to,
just what I was gonna
No,
ask.
that's their
discuss.
recommendation.
recommendation to,
Pave that alley.
We had some.
On the handout that's on your in front, it was on that, the highlight.
oh, okay.
So it's talking about that. And then allowing permit parking on Division Street for Airbnb renters and apartment tenants only. And I didn't know we had tenant or apartments down there, that's just me, I didn't know, how many apartments are, so they're actually being rented right now?
Yeah, you guys have 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, got four.
So you guys
Okay,
have
yeah,
four
I guess.
tenants. Dave Wood has 2, 3 tenants maybe?
Okay, yeah, I don't know why I didn't know that, but I do.
So who owns the land behind the building? Is it like broke up?
I'm not really clear on where that alley's gonna run. Dave, you probably know more on that.
So what I was told is the alley essentially goes, I believe, right to the clock tower, right up to the edge of the clock tower. But I would assume the church owns a vast majority of that lot back there.
Well, where the,
Are they talking the east-west?
North, south, it
Jim?
says here.
Any clue?
where they,
East.
They didn't involve me, it's like normal.
This says north, south, have the alley running north, south, west of the Masonic Temple. So it's the alley right west of the Masonic Temple there, paved by the city.
Oh,
So it's just a north-south alley. I don't know if they're talking the whole alley,
oh, it's just the entrance alley from Second
second.
in?
Yeah, north,
Why
in
did
between
we
the flower
leave
garden.
that?
It doesn't give it a whole lot of whys in there.
Did somebody ask for that to be paved? Ash, any clue what's going on here?
Well, this
I
says
don't
have
know
an
why
alley
it's-
running east-west north of Door Deer.
Well, I know that's what it says, but
Oh,
there's no alley back there.
I was present at their meeting, and it's because people are walking from the front of the businesses around to the alley to parking in the back. And because it's gravel, they're walking on Dave's brick paved section next to his building, near his basement windows.
So don't you think Mr. Wood could put up a fence or something?
So that was the discussion. So I guess to help create a paved way for people that are walking around the building is what I could piece together from it.
I mean, we do have some paved alleys, but the churches and stuff out paved. Yeah.
The alleys that are paved, the majority of that expense was on the property owners and not on the
Not the same.
Right.
I have streets, actual platted, usable streets that are still gravel.
Yeah.
So I think we need to consider that before we consider paving an alley.
Well, I mean, just because we pave an alley doesn't mean we're gonna eliminate somebody walking around the building.
Yeah, I mean, they're gonna walk,
Right, to get to
you
their
can't
cars.
stop citizens from walking down a city sidewalk into a city alley.
Right.
Like, we can't control that. Okay,
Okay, that's one, but two, Ben, did you want to talk about the permanent parking division?
Well, yeah, we would be totally against that. When that parking was put in, the Congregational Church paid for basically all that parking that they owned. And then Bill and I paid for the rest of it because the city wasn't gonna do anything. They were gonna cut it back as just, it was gonna be street. So we actually paid for that, and our concern is there's not enough parking on Main Street now. And if you start giving permits for residential, it's gonna, right now, everything that we own there is rented. And our tenants need those spaces for parking for our real customers.
Well, where are we gonna put the snow in the winter?
Yeah, that's where I was going at with that, snow removal.
Jim,
It's okay.
Ben, correct me if I'm wrong, but the agreement was when you guys paid that was going to be upkept and maintained by the city, is that correct?
I think the city said they agreed
I
to do
believe that's right. So with that being said, with permit parking, that is really going to cripple any type of maintenance, whether it be snow removal, line painting, street sweeping, whatever, with vehicles parked there. The other thing is, I pulled in there with my personal pickup, which I have an extended cab and a short box, and I put my tires against the curb at the sidewalk, and my bumper was right at the curb line. So if you have a person that has a quad cab pickup with a long box, which I believe one of David Woods' tenants owns such a vehicle,
Yeah.
you're gonna be about 2.5 feet out in the travel portion of the street.
Ash, so they can make these recommendations, but we don't need to do anything with them if we don't want to, correct?
I think that I think you maybe alluded to it, but like where Maven's shop is, kill the parking.
Yeah.
For that store.
Yeah.
Or whatever's in there.
Yeah, there's not people, she probably got one parking spot in front of her building now, possibly two between, probably just one because of the way that
That
structure
big
is.
rounded
Yeah,
corner.
and then of course, Caitlin doesn't have much parking there either, so I mean, it's pretty critical parking for your commercial district.
Was there a reason why they wanted to do this? Again, I mean, there's not much information. Was there a?
So, going off what I was told is that Mr. Wood was having some issues with people walking and so P and Z was trying to come up with some ideas because he thinks that the Airbnb people are gonna be parking there, and with the new Airbnb going across the street, I think he was trying, Dr. Sabrasi kind of had said that he thought that would be a good idea to have people be able to park there. But that was kind of all I got. But in the same sense, I think you can't tell whether it's people from the apartments that are walking through the alley, people, maybe other places downtown,
So it wasn't the Airbnb owners
it
or
was
the?
not to my knowledge, no.
I say we just move on from that. I guess if we get more information, we can discuss it later, but for right now, I agree with Mike, we just don't have the information in front of us to.
Okay. 5C, the P and Z met the other day, discussed this issue, and Chris moved to vacate the street with no access available to the west segment was vacated. No second was offered, so that no motion was seconded on this. I talked to Rady Martin, and she went and looked at the property, and she says Viola could possibly sell a couple of her lots on there, and she wouldn't have so much to take care of.
Well, I think on the second page, it says that it was brought up about vacating, but some lots would be inaccessible. So Eileen moved to have the city remove 6 trees and the existing stumps and maintain the platted street with adequate grass cutting per city code. And then if the city failed to do that, then the street should be vacated. And that was moved and seconded.
But this is vacating streets. No street, alley, or portion therefore of any public ground shall be vacated unless the council finds that use the street, the alley, portion therefore of any ground proposed to be vacated is not needed for use of the public or therefore its maintenance and public expense is no longer justified. Abutting properties, which would be Viola's, the proposed vacation will not deny owners of property abutting on the street or alley reasonable access to the property. In that whole area north of Maine, my dad had a house in Ruby Walls, the only house from 8th to 10th Street. Since then, Bill Sherm built a new house where Alberta Ager lives. Small built a new house. Viola Jones built a new house. Steve James built a new house. Mick Askren built a new house, but loads of dirt was put in there to make it more accessible. Wayne Cook built another house in 1996. Fippen house, they brought in a build a house on North Fremont. Luann Seacrest has a house on North Fremont. Easel built a house on North Fremont. I don't know who has that. Chris Pace is the one that Mike lives in now on North Fremont. The trouble is,
Who
you
lives in Chris Pace's house?
Mike does.
Greg.
Greg, Greg. But the trouble is, that whole area was pasture and farm ground. All these homes were built there. Somebody said that you can't build on Viola's. Yes, you can. You can have dirt. You can have walkout basements there. The trouble is, you gotta look in the long run. You gotta look 20, 50 years down the road. Somebody's gonna be wanting to build a home or not. You don't, we've got two over near Black Hills that's already plugged up the access. It said, long-term, you don't close a street for a person's own personal green space. It's for the benefit for the whole town.
Can we back up just a second?
Yeah.
I think the issue here wasn't the fact of a green space. I think the main issue was that there were a ton of ash trees that needed to be cleaned up. Correct?
That's correct. What
And
part of it?
so I think it was made mention that he was wanting to buy it if the city wouldn't clean the property up.
And they've already started cleaning.
Yeah, but
Okay,
they didn't until he said something. So I don't think,
Yeah.
I think we're.
Greg,
something else we have to consider is walnut trees and leaves. I mean, 90% of those trees are on city property. And I was asked not to go over there for liability reasons. I understand that. But I have plenty of my own walnuts to clean up and leaves to clean up. Are we just gonna leave them when it comes time? Because it's getting mowed about once a month right now, and that's all it needs. And they did come over and clean up the trees. But what I don't want to see happen is that left for me and my wife to clean up. It's got to be cleaned up the same as any other city property. Just because it happens to be out of sight, out of mind, doesn't mean that it's not a city street that you have as a street. So either if you want to sell it, that's fine, or it has to be maintained properly, the same way would you expect me to keep my property in the city limits.
but Greg, you gotta realize, a couple of years ago, nobody even realized that was an open street. Archie Jones had his fence clear up to Steve James's boundary. He pastured all that area, and the livestock got into Steve's. Then they found out that's an open area, so Archie moved his fence back there. And so it hasn't been, it was terrible situation for years that way.
So we aren't going to talk about though that from the road going out of town, north-south, they already vacated from Wagon Road up to our property. That's already vacated. The city vacated that some time ago.
And that's the trouble. You have different councils that, oh, let's just go vacate this.
Okay.
So a guy can have green paper. No, you don't want to do that. My father-in-law wanted to vacate his. No, you got access for utilities there, and they absolutely said, no, we're not gonna do that. I realize your frustration, but yes, we'll try to keep it clean better, but I'm totally against blocking that off, because Viola's, she could have somebody put in a culvert near Steve's and add a couple more homes, right?
You do realize though that those parcels have all been hooked together. If you look on the plot map, they're all hooked together. They're not individual lots anymore. They're all plotted together. It's one lot.
Mayor, Mr. Caldwell had something.
Who does?
I got a question. So we're talking about maintenance of the property, walnuts and stuff. Ash trees, I understand being cut down, you guys are taking care of that, right? So we got that going, but do we pick up walnuts on Lava Park? I went up there the other day with my dog, we
sir.
don't clean up Lava Park, I get that it's gonna be dirty,
The leaves are mowed and mulched
yeah.
numerous times throughout the fall, but we do not remove them.
And I do share concern when you vacate something is what could be the economic impact to the city. We vacated a street out here when we had DICA supposedly coming down. Now, that was gonna provide a lot of jobs. You know, unfortunately, it went away. So here we sit with a vacated street because we didn't have the right verbiage in our contract and stuff. I think Carl's doing something out there now, somebody, so we are kind of getting that back. But if we do vacate stuff, you know, what happens when we need that space out there, or somebody wants it?
I think that the more of the issue is he's asking that if you don't wanna maintain it and you don't wanna clean it, he's open to buy it. But if you're going to maintain it and, you know, take care of the trees and stuff, then he's okay with that.
But what does maintain mean? That would be my thing.
Well, the trees came down, I mean, that's one thing he
We're
asked.
getting the ash trees taken care
Yeah,
of, right?
but it didn't until he until he
Okay.
asked to buy the property,
Sure.
he said this is why, so we got the trees taken care of.
Okay, so the
So
trees
I
are,
think we've fixed half of the problem.
okay, so what would be the other maintenance problem?
I haven't been here in the fall. Like, I don't know
Okay.
what they do. I just know they're mowing it about once a month. I can tell you that, many leaves are gonna fall over there. I got plenty of leaves to clean up. I like to keep my yard clean. And if we're just gonna leave them until they blow into somebody else's lot. So can I ask, has this council vacated other streets, in the past?
Not this council, other
Yes, we
councils.
have.
You have? Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
we just vacated.
well,
Yeah,
the
we did one based upon, having a business moving to our area to bring jobs. So it's going to be an economic benefit to the whole city to have that street vacated.
And then we also vacated the one by the water tower because there was there was an end and there was no.
Oh, yeah,
way to go.
yes, we did
Because of
vacate the one where the water tower is, because again, I think that was for a benefit for the whole city.
But there was, to extend that road further north, you were gonna hit the railroad, so
And
you
you're
wouldn't be
gonna
able
come through
to, so there was a
Yeah.
reason.
The depot too or something. You're gonna come
Bob,
there
you got
close.
something?
And I'll do like the mayor asked, I'll come up here and address, and I'll try to speak loud enough you can hear me. I hear the cleaning part, but that situation was there when the property was sold, the situation was the same when Chris built there. And I live in a town, we all do, where there's alleys that are halfway run through and closed, and none of us can tell why that happened. It usually a result of one individual worked on a couple council people, P&Z, and got it done. And now we don't have rhyme or reason why it is. We should be operating as a city with a guiding principle to close or vacate any street or alley, because we can't, none of us have the vision to see perfectly 100 years from now. This town is already over 150 years old. We're back on a growth deal. And it's easy to see that we're gonna grow out in several ways over time. Up in the northwest sector, there's some high-end housing were built where people get larger land, different than in a subdivision area. That's probably what the future would hold up there. But there should be a principle beyond somebody asked. The cleanup issues is totally separate, and I understand that. But I think we should operate what can a council do to make it pleasant? I got walnut trees. I know what a mess you're dealing with because I live across from walnut trees. I can tell when anybody's coming to fall like that. But it's my life. I bought the place. That is the way it is. But I would hope that we can look at these things if there's an extraordinary benefit to the city, as we've done with a new business coming in, that would warrant the closure of a street or an alley. But just for convenience or for aesthetic reasons, we already have enough of those partial alleys that are closed down. And I think this council could set the stage for future councils saying, we're gonna operate on a guiding principle of extraordinary benefit to the city, or that's not what we're gonna do. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. And
Mr.
I.
Mayor?
Oh, I'm sorry. No, go right ahead.
So- Mr. Irving, would it be safe to say that maybe we don't make a decision and we see how the fall goes and see what kind of maintenance issues? And then if you have an issue, you can call up and talk to Ash or Sarah and see if those can be addressed?
Sure. I feel like the city has been fair. They've listened to what our request was. They did act on getting the trees down. So we're not bothered by that. I just want to make sure that the understanding is just because we ask, now we run out and we take 4 or 5 trees down and we mow it the last time right before the council meeting. Just making sure that we did buy a property in town and I care to keep it neat and clean. If you come by our property, the leaves are cleaned up, the walnuts are cleaned up. I spent about 6 hours cleaning up walnuts this weekend. So all I'm asking is to either take care of it the way you take care of city property. If it's adjacent to the park up here, the neighbors aren't gonna let junk and trash blow out of their yard and into their yard, out of the park and into their yard without complaining. I'm doing the same thing. My wife and I enjoy our property, enjoy our land, and we're not looking to take it away from the city of Stuart. We're looking to come to an understanding that what's fair for one is fair for all.
Thank you, I appreciate
Thank you,
that.
Greg.
And item number 5 is no action on ABC. Go to item number 6.
And the fire trucks, Josh.
I'm not sure what Ash provided within the packet. We did receive, 5 bids on the 2 trucks total, I believe, right, Ash?
Yes, 3 on the 5500 GMC 2005 and 2 on the 1992 Ford.
Our board meeting was Tuesday night. As a board, we think it's a wise decision as of right now to keep the 1992 for the bids that were submitted to us. And then we'd also recommend that we sell unit 5 at $51,000, 800, I believe.
58.
With that being said, between Chip and I and Ash, we had that budgeted for $30,000 on the new truck, so we're about $21,000 over. The only variable within that is the chassis update or upgrade, since that was done as a 22 chassis, and now we're probably gonna get a 24 chassis. The last time they told me anything, we're looking at 24. So my 24 chassis, which would probably put another chassis upcharge on there as well.
We need a motion to approve the sale of the 2005 GMC.
Like Cobalt.
And we're holding off on that.
And holding off on the 1992.
And hold off on the 92.
Yes.
Okay.
Moved by Calvin, seconded by
Second by Morgan. How do you vote? Patrick.
Yes.
Dole. Yes. Cobalt.
Yes.
yes.
Renzo.
Yes,
And then with that being said, they did want that truck no later than November 3rd.
Gonna call him
So-
tomorrow.
City Hall has all the information and
We'll call him tomorrow and give him a
we'll
call.
get it down the road. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Thanks, chief.
Okay, 7, ordinance number 2304C. Do you want to say anything on this, Dave, or on the speed?
I mean, we can talk, me and Jim discussed it, and I mean, we can answer any questions, or.
Anybody got any
this
questions?
is the same thing that we talked about, just
Yes.
lowering it
Yes.
south of town and
Yes,
to the east.
yes.
The only other caveat there would be in talking to Rusty Shockley, Dave, myself, the existing school speed zone drops a 45 to a 35. It would drop 35 to a 25 through the,
Okay.
And Mr. Shockley's okay with that?
he was quite okay with it.
Need a motion.
I'll second it.
Second by Renzo. How do you vote? Patrick.
Yes.
Dole.
Yes.
Yes.
Morgan.
Yes.
Renzo.
Yes.
That's the first reading. Now it's.
Quick question. Did, I see that Adair County had to approve the one for south of town, correct?
Just for your information.
Oh, that's just for, and so we don't have to go to Guthrie for this other one? Okay,
So we need a motion for the second reading.
so moved.
Moved by Renzo, second by Cobalt. How do you vote? Patrick.
Yes.
Dole.
Yes.
Cobalt.
Yes.
Morgan.
Yes.
Renzo.
Yes.
Need a motion to waive the third and final reading.
So moved.
I'll second.
Moved by Patrick, second by Kavah. How do you vote for Patrick?
Yes.
Dolly?
Yes.
Kavah?
Yes.
Morgan? Yes. Renzo?
Yes.
Okay. Nuisance property, 420 North Sherman. A while back, Jim and Corey and Mason went and cleaned up a lot of the debris, but they were advised by Jason they couldn't take any of the construction material, air conditioner, doors, windows, siding, everything. But he's got a draft into the lawyer and they've got a certified letter to send to Richard Peter and to condemn and tear down the property. It's in the process, they got a hand deliver it to him because it's hard to find him.
What do you need?
What's that?
Just so you.
Oh, just FYI. Oh, okay.
But I had said something about one person talked about possibly moving the basement, fixing up, and Jason said, no, it's too bad a shape, he wants it tore down, and that means tearing the block out of there, filling up the dirt, leveling it all off, just be a vacant lot. Hopefully the people next door that have their camper possibly might.
I thought the new owners were gonna
They did.
start all over
But
and
we did
do
no
all this.
permits.
There was
They never did.
There was
pull any,
no permits, there was a stop order in January.
Right.
I went up there one day, and they poured footing, they started laying block, I said, I'm the mayor, I can't say you gotta stop, but I advise you to, because you're not gonna get your money out of this. So Jason showed up a few minutes later, he kicked them off the property and said, there's a cease order on this, you can't do any more, no permits have been from the previous owner, this owner, and nothing's been done right, so it's coming down.
And I thought we agreed when we took it off of the code enforcement, because the realtor stood up here and said that guy said he was gonna pull permits, and then he didn't.
Never did.
And we'll have to, as soon as the certified letter gets sent, then we'll have to get, I know one person already give me a quote possibly what it costs, but we'll have to send it out for bids, like we did
To tear it
Marty
down.
Forrest place to tear it down. That's just for your information on that.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, Walmart third edition phase 4. You wanna talk for us, please?
Sure. So before you tonight is just a partial payment estimate for work completed to date. Macinich is the contractor doing the work, and they're out there putting in utilities right now, storm sewers, sanitary sewers, water mains. That's the work that's going on, probably will last until the middle of October, before they get that work completed, and then at the end of October, weather operating, they're looking to start paving the streets with concrete. So their goal is to have the streets paved by the end of the year, and then the spring will just be surface restoration and cleanup work. So the dry weather is helping with all the construction out there.
That looks like that's about to change.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
that's, yeah.
Might change for this week, we'll see. See
So
what next.
on the north side of that whole area gets development out there, is that the way it's gonna be out there? Cause it looks like it's pretty steep. Going down to the north, is that the way?
Yeah, there's that northwest corner, we're not building at this point, and so we're just matching into the existing grade. We did do the earthwork to do the whole thing, so we're just doing the earthwork needed for the
Just
lots
this
that we're
area.
doing.
Okay.
So I want to ask a question on that because I know we've had issues with the heights of different structures being built here in town. All this being done now, when it comes time, if the rest of it does get developed, it's not going to,
Well,
we're gonna be like
we
this.
designed the whole thing.
Okay,
Yeah, the whole thing is designed,
Okay.
we're just not building that portion.
Jim?
Forrest, what's the status with all of the soil piles that they've got piled up there? Is that gonna be distributed back
Yep.
out?
Yep.
Okay,
It's gonna
I
be-
just don't wanna see a bunch of mounds back there with weeds growing on them for 3 or 4 years.
No, that will all get spread out,
Okay.
that's the topsoil, and they're gonna spread all that out when they're done.
That'll be
There's as well as some clay too, there's a couple pretty good clay piles.
Okay, well, yeah,
But everything will
it's for
be
to get.
pretty much flat graded and
in the spring, right?
Probably in the spring, yes, yeah, not this fall, yeah.
You wanna open it up to some skiing and sledding or something?
you're closer, I'll let you tend to that.
You just gotta need a motion on this.
Yes, need a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Moved by
Second.
Dolly. Second by Renzo. How do you vote? Patrick?
Yes.
Dolly?
Yes.
Outlaw?
Yes.
Morgan? Yes. Renzo?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for it.
You got anything last or you leave?
I'm gonna stick around.
Okay, can I ask you a question while you're up here? And I'm sorry about this. About Whitehall Road, has all the testing been done on that?
Yes, I don't know the status of all that testing, because we turned all that into Josh for his grant application. But all that testing has been completed,
Okay,
yes.
and the reason, because I know at the time you guys had said you could come back here and kind of give us an idea of what we would be looking at for our section. Whether it be like a mill and fill or something like that, you know. And I think if that's done and we can get that kind of information to the council, it might be good to just have that early on so we know what to expect, you know.
Yeah, especially as you go into budget here.
Exactly, because that's gonna be coming up, so.
Jim had something.
Jim, Mike, also just for your FYI.
Yep.
It'll either be this week or next week, but the county will be here to do the rough fill-in of the wheel ruts that was discussed earlier when Josh was here.
Okay, good.
Good.
That's real good, because I didn't know that they were gonna do it. I thought we were just waiting for this whole thing to be done, so good.
Because it got lengthened out and construction, you're not looking at construction until late 24, early 25. That's why we're going to address what we have now.
Perfect.
How long is that gonna take them to do that, Mike, do you know?
It shouldn't take them too long.
Yeah,
Good.
Josh talked like we should be done within the week.
Oh,
And they're
Yeah.
supposed to be coming, is it next week or the week after?
When I talked to Josh, he thought it would either be tail end of this week or first part of next.
I asked that when we go to do that, can somebody let Matt or whoever else is on that Facebook page and we post when streets are gonna be closed?
They won't be closed.
They
They'll
won't be
open the
closed,
traffic.
Oh, okay.
There'll be some one lane, back.
Put an FY up there, just so you can put an FY up for.
yeah, there's just gonna be heavy truck traffic on it this time of year too, so it might be a good idea.
Yeah,
to
just so
throw
that
it out
people
there.
know, so they're not,
And we'll let the ethanol plant know as well, so they may choose to,
Send out
let their
text
traffic
message or
know.
something, Yeah.
I appreciate.
Okay, 11, authorizing $150,000 actual general obligation. You got anything?
This is a transaction we do every year. You know, you're all familiar with this now. We maybe for 150,000 for the health insurance for the employees. And you're all familiar with it. It's time now to do it.
We gotta do A and B separate.
You can do A and B together.
so moved.
Moved by Renzo.
Second it.
Dolly?
Bill.
How do you vote? Patrick?
Yes.
Dolly?
Yes.
Outlaw?
Yes.
Morgan? Yes. Renzo?
Yes.
Okay, rescue department. John?
Got Jotham here with me and a couple other guys from the committee. We sent out an email, with the information we have at present. So I guess you want us to go over this in front of all you and answer some questions, or just take, what do you wanna?
Can you just briefly
Brief.
describe
Yeah.
what you
So-
got going here?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you very much for having us. We appreciate you taking the time to listen. What we are trying to do as a committee council is to develop a plan for countywide EMS systems. Our goal is to move financial burdens and liabilities from singular entities like cities and move them to the overall population, because there's no other service that provides to every single resident in our county like EMS. What we are seeing is a shift in EMS services becoming very expensive for cities, and we're hearing from cities that may not be sustainable in the long term. And so what we are hoping to do, and you've got this packet here with the draft proposal, what we are hoping to do over the next 5 years, we're going to bring This proposal, as long as we can get the support of the cities and townships, fire departments across the county, we're going to bring this back to the supervisors and get a vote for November of '24 during the general election, countywide to tax for EMS services. And then the goal would be, in effect, a partnership to consolidate all EMS services across the county. We have a huge gap in our western parts. We're very thankful for your services here because you cover a big portion of the population, as well as Kenora. So our eastern parts are covered well. When we get to the western part, not so much. However, the financial liability that falls onto the cities because of that tends to grow. And I'm sure you've seen that in the budget. So in short, the goal of this is to consolidate and create a very sustainable EMS solution that we can have for the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years, rather than asking cities to continue to maintain the EMS system, which will continue to grow. So the taxation plus the revenues from services will be that piece. As part of this, if you read through here, not only are we looking to move that liability, but we're also looking to grow our first responder services. So to just kind of answer some questions that we've already received from other cities, no, we are not looking to move ambulances out of Stuart. That is not part of the plan. We're not moving ambulances out of Kenora. We're adding ambulances to what we already have. We anticipate using all 3 full-time ambulances to cover the needs that we have, and then grow those first responder programs so that every city in our county has first responders. And you might ask, well, how are you going to do that? We want to go back to a model of volunteerism. And some paid volunteerism. I know that seems kind of, I know, it is a challenge, absolutely. But our hope is, and maybe I'm just a bit of a dreamer here, but our hope is that by making the ask and training, equipping, and making sure that fire departments have what they need to help those first responders, we can get back to that. Because there was a time 30 years ago where fire departments did not have gaps in rosters and EMS services were delivered by firefighters, and it kind of evolved over time. So part of our plan is to go to those cities and try and grow that program so that you've got first responders that are there, and then ambulance services can take a little bit longer to get there, because there's no way to fill that gap in some of our places without doing that. We cannot, there's not enough money to pay enough times to every person in Guthrie County. But we can actually create a system by where we have first responders, volunteers, and services that accomplish that mission.
I do have a question.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I followed everything here. What does develop, grow, and or support EMS first responders within fire departments in every township, or fire district, and tie them back to the county services to alleviate administrative strain at the fire department level?
Absolutely. So we talked with several fire departments that gave up doing rescue. They no longer have a rescue component because, one, their training was a burden on them to keep those EMTs trained. Their equipment became outdated, and then they got dinged when they were surveyed by the state, and they did not have the administrative ability to bill in a way. And so, like places like Bayard, Bagley, Yale, Jamaica, all those places that used to have first responders that transported with ambulances, they no longer do. So our goal would be that in each of these areas, that on fire departments, now granted that's if we can get the fire departments to buy in and find a way, solution there, would be to get more EMTs to train and equip and make sure that they can respond as first responders. So that, and those first responders then would be covered by a medical director that's paid by the county. The equipment we provided by the county, and the training and the continuing education would also be provided by the county, so that the fire departments wouldn't be asked to do all of those things, but rather provide us with volunteers and allow us to train and equip those rescuers.
To any of the fire departments yet?
We started the process, yeah. So that's, I mean, we're here because if we don't have city buy-in, I mean, you guys have the ambulances right now, right? So you and Kenora have ambulances. And if you're telling me, nope, we don't want any part of that, then I need to reevaluate how we're going to play that out. So we're starting here. I've talked to Adair, the fire department in Adair and Bagley. Those two I have talked with in Yale. And most of them are very agreeable to that model. Now, what that model looks like will change dramatically depending on what the cities are willing to do and how much the cities are willing to partner. So if the cities are willing to come alongside the county and develop this plan over the 5 years, then that becomes a countywide service. And then we can use maybe a Dallas County model or one of those where we have first responders in our fire departments and they fall under that umbrella. If the cities say, no, we're not interested in doing that, we're comfortable with where we are, at that point, then we may have to start a third service. So instead of having a countywide service, you'd have a county service and the 2 city services. However, the problem with that is then we'd go township by township, and townships would have the option to choose the county service or the city service. And then you get into how many runs is everyone doing, and you could potentially cripple the services that you currently have by taking away revenue. And that is not the goal at all. We want to go.
Go ahead and finish. I'm just.
Yeah, so that's kind of where we are with that piece. Yep.
Could you talk about how it would have affected Dare County and Guthrie County with us being in 2 counties?
Yeah, absolutely. So the proposed mechanism that we'll use is a township by township in other counties, because we do cover, if you look at the maps and fire districts, there's Coon Rapids, that's covered by part of Carroll. And then we also have Audubon in the Exira little piece, and then we have Adair. So each of those, we reach out to each of those townships and offer the same thing, taxing at the same rate that we tax Guthrie County residents. They would have the option to buy into that, or they would have the option to go with, Adair County already provides an EMS service through Greenfield at the hospital. So that's how we would propose attacking that mechanism.
So are you gonna start bringing in fire chiefs to discuss this with you?
Absolutely.
I mean, that's the plan?
Yep, the plan is to go to every your fire boards, and talk with them. But before we made the decision to go that route, we really wanted to make sure that we knew kind of where our cities were. Because like I said, without having the city on board with a 5-year plan where we become a county EMS, we would have to look at a different solution there. And I didn't want to tell fire chiefs, oh yeah, this is what we're doing, and then, have either Stuart or Panora tell me, nope, don't count us in for that.
So what does that do to our employees? So we have, we pay our paramedics, we pay our rescue director, they'll get paid by the county?
Over the 5-year, yeah, so if you look at the outlay there, in year 4 and 5, we would begin moving employees from the city's responsibility over to, so it's a 2-step process. So let's talk about that really quickly, right? So initially what we would do is we'd subsidize the cities that are providing the services. We provide all of your operational expenses. So we cover all of your medicine, all of the new ambulances that need to be bought, all of that equipment. And then that would be for that first 3-year period. And in year 4 and 5, we would take over administrative responsibilities where we'd bill for things, and then we would move employees from the cities over to the county. And the goal would be to not lose anybody in the process. We can't afford to lose any. We have a hard enough time recruiting and retaining paramedics that we do have in the county. So the goal would be to keep those, and we're not asking for long moves. Where people that are here can stay here. We're not even asking that you take Stuart Rescue off the side of the ambulances. It doesn't matter what's on those ambulances to us. To be completely honest with you, what we are trying to do is make sure that every resident in Guthrie County gets the same kind of service.
So if we have a shortage down here, we could potentially see some of those
Correct.
Panora people come down and vice versa.
Yep, and then the goal is to open a 3rd station outside of Guthrie Center so that you'd have a triangulated position there to get to within 10, 15 minutes of just about anybody. And then, if your Stuart ambulances were taking going down to maybe Mercy, right, and that left a gap, then the goal would be to move those Guthrie Center ambulances down and then Panora across, so you'd have kind of a coverage there.
So if we didn't do any of this and the county just said, we're gonna make EMS an essential service.
They have.
They have done that.
Yes.
So
And that's part of this process. So it has been declared essential.
it has.
What
So
we
does that
can-
allow the taxing to start then?
That's what this process is. We have to take it to the vote. So now the county said, yes, it's an essential service. We need to get a majority of voters in the county to say, yes, you can tax us for
So
those
let's say
services.
they passed it without this, it's essential, everybody votes, yeah, we wanna pay a tax, right? So instead of sending the money to the county to run it, it would come to the city, right?
No.
How does that work?
So it goes to a council. So the way that the law is written, and that's why we're here talking about this, but the way that the law is written, once it's taxed, it goes to a county council, and that council then divvies up the money to where those spots need to be.
Now, is that the same, does that happen the same for the fire side? With fire being essential service?
So the fire boards are run through townships and taxation on the township side.
Because we don't have a fire board here.
It's just run by the city?
Yes.
Okay, so then you, in effect, your council then probably functions as your fire board. And I might be speaking out of turn there because I don't know exactly what the legalities are.
That's
there.
fine. I'm just trying to figure out how it's.
So what's the point, if that's the case, then what's the point of the board that we have on the fire department? Isn't that
We
your fire
are the
board?
board of the fire department. The council is the financial agent for the fire department.
Okay, so.
All taxation from the county, townships come to Ash and are deposited accordingly, whether it be EMS or fire.
So when they come to the fire board, as he's referring, they come to us or they come to you
Us.
as the board?
Us.
You as the fire department board?
Yes.
Okay.
To try and get our buy-in.
Right,
Yes.
So the funds come to that council.
Yes.
They decide on how they're gonna spend it up there. So they just don't get a blank check.
No.
So, but with the EMS, it's not, it's already just gonna go to the county anyway.
Well, it's gonna go to the county, the EMS council. So the council is supposed to be representative of the entire county, right? So, yes, in effect, it would go to the county. And then that council would move the monies to where it needed to go in order to accomplish the countywide EMS system.
So it's already pretty much, this is a done deal if that's the case. What I'm trying to say is that if there's a tax for fire and it comes here, that if it passes a vote for tax without this plan, it's still gonna go to some EMS council.
Correct.
and
So-
then they
And they
determine
would-
what
so-
percentage we get.
And we would not, as a council,
What's that?
that we do not make decisions.
No, it wouldn't come to the city where you would have, you would make the decision on what, and let's say a city doesn't have EMS, say like Menlo. If they wanted to contract with us, like some cities do for fire or police, that's the way I was thinking the money would come to the cities like it does the fire side. Like on fire, it would come, however it is set up. So for us, it would come to Ash, the EMS would come to Ash. And then if another city wanted to contract, if they tax their citizens, then it would go to them. They would pay the city that they're contracting with that way.
County would give us money, like if there's $100,000,
The council.
the council, they would say Stuart gets 30%, Panora gets X percent. I mean, isn't that, or however you divvy
So
it out?
that is
and then-
not how the law was written.
So it just all goes to you and then,
It goes to the council, and then the council's supposed to make sure that it goes to in the county. So there's no percentage formula.
give money to the city to assist.
Well, so here's the thing. So the money that comes in from the taxation, from the levy that's made here, goes to the council, and then it can be used to give money to fund operational expenses. There's a list of things that it can be given to. The council can decide to move it into one pot or two pots. But across the board right now, the goal is to get to a point where the county as a whole is operating under an efficient system. One medical director, one set of protocols, the ability to use first responders from anywhere in the county to fill gaps.
So how many directors would you have? Just one
You'd
that
have,
would oversee all of it?
For this plan.
yeah, so you'd have a countywide EMS director, and then you would have a station by station supervisor. So you would have, so if you keep your Stuart rescue here, you'd have someone here that was specifically in charge of the operational things that were going on.
But the county would make that decision, that council would make that decision, not the city.
They wouldn't necessarily be the one to determine, who was in charge of the county or who would, it's more their, like Jim said, kind of the financial agent. They receive the money and then they decide on the plan for divvying it up. You know what I mean? It depends. Yeah,
So at the end of the 5 years, the city no longer is responsible or controls the EMS, and it's all controlled by the county. And the city completely loses any control or any responsibility of the service.
Well, so that is not how we want that to play out. The council needs to have representation from the cities that it's serving. So each person, each city, each block should have some representation on that council to make decisions for the county as a whole.
So,
But the county still is the mother, the father of it, and it still falls under the county.
Correct.
So when I hear that.
So the city loses control.
It was.
Yeah, I mean, yes, but, I mean,
Yeah.
it's helping financially, I mean, the financial thing. My other question, our EMS and our fire work out of the same building.
Correct.
So is the city gonna have to just submit a bill for the expenses? Is that how that's gonna work
Yep.
for the EMS side?
Yep, so the goal would be, because that's an operational expense, we could absolutely rent that facility. The other part of this would be that the equipment that you have that you've already invested in, the council would be paying for that over that 15-year period. So if you look through this plan, you'll see that the goal is to go 15 years. And during that period, those 28E agreements for the last 10 years would provide city money to rent that space for that equipment and the transition from that equipment from the city to the county level.
Because essentially, we wouldn't be renting the building, because that's a fire station that
Correct.
holds the ambulances and has living quarters for the rescue people. But
Correct.
it is the fire station.
Right.
So you
So,
would just be renting like 3 bays and,
right, yeah, whatever you were agreeable to us
okay.
utilizing.
So how much revenue are they thinking? Do they have any kind of estimate what they're thinking this will bring in?
So the total taxation is looking at about $850,000.
It's not much.
No,
That's not much.
Not for a countywide, no.
I know, see, that's the thing, it's like, when you start taxing, and I know it's not you, so, you didn't write the law, or did you?
No.
Okay, so, when you start taxing people in a town and then taking that money and throwing it out someplace else, I get that, when you pull it all together, it's really concerning, especially, when you say, well, it should do this, it should do that. I want to hear it, that it will do this, it will do that, and it has to be written up that way, because that would be one of my biggest fears, is that once you put, you're going to be spending a salary on at least the county director, and the EMS coordinator, you're going to create a new job there.
That EMS coordinator would function as the director. They would not be
As a
separate.
medical director too?
The medical director has to be a doctor,
Okay, so
so,
it's separate, so the EMS director, but you gotta create that position,
correct. And currently, the health department's looking at running that under its current budget.
okay, okay. So I was gonna say, if you do that and then you have other people underneath that, is that gonna be cut into this 850,000? Taking that money away?
Well, so, and here's the long and short of this, right? In order to address the issues that we have at the county, if we form a third service, and this is, as the health director, that's my biggest fear, because if we form that third service, what it will end up doing is eating your revenue and eating everybody else's revenue. You'll maintain your fire district, right? But all of the town, well, you're being taxed. Do you want to be covered by the county, or do you want to sign agreements with Stuart? So that, if you go to them and say, well, we're not going to charge you for it, that's potentially going to hit there. Also, all of those call revenues that you get from outside of the city, like Menlo, Casey, those kind of things, the same with Panora. We don't want to take those away without consolidating the services. Otherwise, the county will pull in revenue for those away from those cities, thereby taking revenues and causing you to have to doubly tax, in effect, your residents to maintain services inside the city limits. Does that make sense?
Well, if you had a county service, it would cover all of Guthrie County?
Correct.
Okay, so I guess the cities would have to say, okay, where would it be based at? Guthrie Center?
Well, so you would maintain bases in each of your cities. So there would be, your county coordinator would probably be floating between each of your stations. You could probably put an office maybe at the courthouse or at the health department or somewhere like that, but you wouldn't want them there all the time, because they need to be working with each of those stations that were there. But to your point about should and could, right? So right now, should is because we're asking, is this something you're agreeable to looking at, right? The will comes in the 28E agreements. So if you tell me, hey, yes, we're willing to look at this, we look this through and you're like, I don't like that piece, I don't like that piece, I want assurances of this, this, and this, that's what gets written into these 28E agreements that forces this is what will happen.
So let's go back to that countywide. So if Stuart and Panora kept theirs, and they didn't want to do it, so the county opens up a countywide one, right?
Right.
But they're not gonna get, so we're taxing for our service,
You're
then it comes to our town.
right to your fire boards, yeah,
Okay, but then the
Right,
county's
it's-
also gonna tax for that?
correct.
To go
This
to
would be a countywide tax.
So we get taxed twice?
Yeah, we get taxed twice.
Okay, I will discuss. I think what he's trying to do tonight, just give us the idea of the combined service that he's trying to do. I usually allow him to do that because we are in control. Whether we go with combined service or we stay as we are. We won't be able to make that decision, obviously, because you have to give us with and without.
Yes.
And that's very much, it's a healthy discussion, very good. Appreciate you here tonight so they can look at it from your angle too. But it will be better when you come back, say with and without, and we'll be able to study. Why should we go combine? Why don't we stay as we are? It might be saving for us to stay as we are. It might be saving for us to go with you as a combined service.
Correct.
So I think tonight if you would like to give him the go-ahead to
What do you need
propose,
from us tonight?
just go ahead.
I just needed to know whether or not you were even agreeable to looking at this proposal,
Oh,
because
I definitely agree.
Yeah, well, look,
That's
we-
exactly what
Can
it
you make a
look at
motion?
anything.
And
So-
because no, I don't, but to your point, Kaba, that's, if we can't design a program that you guys would agree to, then, well, there's no point in designing it, right? So we would have to design something else. So, that's the goal, is for you to raise your concerns and to say, well, I'm worried about this.
And if the council
So,
is willing to
yeah.
have.
Oh, yeah, we're willing to look at it,
We can have
because,
a motion,
of course, we don't wanna,
we'll have a motion to give him the
Yeah,
go-ahead.
no, you're not committing anything.
Motion to give him the go-ahead process and coming back to us with the financing and we can look at it and study more based on what you're gonna propose.
very good, yep, that's really all we were looking for tonight was, are you agreeable to? Because if not, we needed to, we're gonna run into some time crunches here over the next 4 or 5 months if we're gonna put it out for a countywide vote.
We need a motion, would like to.
I'll move it.
Okay. Moved by Renzo,
I'll second it.
second by Dolly, how do you vote? Patrick?
No.
Dolly?
Yes.
Cobal?
I'm just skeptical when you said go ahead with the process. What does that mean,
The process that the steps that you wanna take to give your study. You're not committing to anything, you're just asking him to proceed
Because,
during your study.
because you would take our vote here and say, hey, Stuart's amicable to looking at this, right?
Correct.
So we're gonna move forward. So that could sway somebody's vote to make it, to start the taxation. Because they could believe that Stuart's agreeing to it.
Well, so there will be no taxation until the
That's the
county
vote
votes.
2024.
Yeah,
November
right.
24.
Yeah,
This
So you're
is
gonna come back with
way.
more information. right?
correct, yeah.
We're just voting to come up with a better, more information in a plan. of
Something
attack.
for you to
My
study.
motion is to give them that, yes, we are agreeable in looking at this process.
To come back.
To come back and show
Yeah,
us
By
what,
no means are we agreeing.
Thank you.
No.
yes.
But I just wanted to be sure, so I didn't know when you were having your vote. Okay, so I will vote yes.
Okay, so Morgan?
Yeah.
Renzo?
Yeah.
And then when you come back, will you be able to say what the taxation is level?
We should have valuations.
That,
at that
and
point.
just have more conversations with, what is it gonna look like and what, with the fire department and, reaching out to our fire department and their board and having those conversations, because I would be interested to see how that's gonna work and what our fire board has to say.
Sure.
And if they don't know what's going on,
Can he get, maybe a couple of council members that he can reach out to and ask questions?
I'd be more than willing
Because
to.
that was one thing, for him coming in here, we're just coming in here and trying to propose something here, and we don't know what will work for you guys and what won't, and that's what we need to know. So
Yeah.
there needs to be
I
some
mean, I'd be
back
more
and
than
forth
willing
with
to.
that,
Yeah.
not necessarily in this setting, but,
Sure. No, I think that's good.
And Sean knows where to find me.
Yeah, if you
And-
want,
and
if
as
you
far
want to
as-
reach out to me too, that's fine.
Timeline is concerned, we have to submit a plan with the specific dollar amount to the county supervisors by probably what? May would be the latest.
So we've still got a little bit of time, but
Right.
we
so-
definitely want to get the ball rolling. Because I understand, we brought, no, I do want to clarify, I brought a proposal. We sent a proposal because we wanted you to at least be able to read some, I didn't want to just come down here and be like, hey, this is what we're thinking. This is at least some concrete ideas. So if you have concerns when we chat, this would be a good place to be like, this is not okay, that is not okay, we're not agreeable to that, so that we can come to something concrete that you all can say, yeah, we're agreeable to that mechanism.
Like when you were reading the one.
Yeah, and I just wanna make sure we're working because we are, that is the fire station, the EMS station's there, that we're
Right.
working with our fire board. So that way they're okay and they're knowledgeable of what's going on, our chief, our assistant chief knows what's going on, and we're not just up here making decisions and having conversations and they don't have any idea what's going on.
Correct.
Is this
That's my biggest thing.
just something that they could work with, like Mike was saying, that Ash with? I mean, there might be some changes up here in the next couple of months. I don't know. I'm not saying anything, but I mean, if there is, we better probably, because it'll
I
be the
think
next
Ash
year
should
as
be
well.
a point of contact anyways to
Yeah.
begin it. 'Cause he's
We
our financial
bring a lot of things through actually.
We got election, we don't know who's gonna be on the council.
Fair enough.
Fair enough, you're gonna get one of the two of us.
Flip a coin, right?
All right, well, thank you very
All right,
much.
thank you for that.
I got a 5-minute break.
Yeah.
Thanks, Lord. You know, I'll put you on the spot.
Yes.
And so I think, Kristen Renzel was also, she made the decision that I validated her street.
Yeah.
They like.
It's not here yet. We can.
Yeah, no.
We'll see where. You know how that. I know how that's gonna go. We have about 17 years.
Yeah, I did Johnson.
I don't care, right, I'm just saying.
Oh, yeah. Wait and see what comes out. And then figured out where farmer.
Okay.
For quite a while.
Start up again, Chief Revon and Asher will have a presentation.
Okay, so as Ash said, this is my annual conversation with you guys. With the way that our budget works from 4 years ago, I have two officers that their vacation periods have gone up, their pay scale has gone up. So obviously to pay for vacations, so does the budget. So there's some things included in your packet, just kind of explain that. This is pretty common, I ask for it almost every year, well, every year.
So this is just due to like when, if you guys got a raise, it's just due to that increase in your salary.
Yeah, so their annual salary goes up, plus two of them, their vacation times went up because they've been here long enough.
So they get more weeks,
Yes.
right? Okay, and Christina, do you remember, did we talk about doing this to where when this happened, we could have our administrator just do this
Yes, and-
without having him having to come up?
Exactly, and I spoke with Dave and we're trying to solve that tonight because you
Okay.
set a policy for 10,000. So as we do it for the street, we set a policy for $200,000. If they exceed, we need to inform you.
Sure.
I spoke to Dave about it and we found out that the average of the exceeding that policy of 10,000 is 3,000. So instead of having him come here every year, we decided to propose to increase it to 5,000, from 10 to 15, increase it by 5,000. That will give him leverage of going in the next 2 years without having to come back.
Except for this is $15,640.
Yeah,
That's
we're
the
all-
value.
40 over what?
No, that's the value of the vacation. Not really what they proposing, he's just showing you what the value of the vacation.
And what I'm saying is if they were all to use their vacation, we set it at 15, and that's just this year. You get more increases in wages, it's gonna keep going
You're
up.
not gonna hire by the same rate. He fills in for vacation with some people not at the same
So,
salary.
yeah, so it depends on who works the shifts. So if an officer that makes less fills in those shifts, then obviously that costs less. So there is some averaging we have to do. There's no way to get it precise. If I were to work all the shifts at my hourly rate, it would be higher. If the bottom paid officer was to work every shift, it would get a lower number. And we don't have any way to say who that's gonna be.
I guess, I thought we had come up and set the policy where you could just take care of it without having to bring him up here.
I looked in a minute and we didn't really come to that conclusion, so let's try to do it tonight.
Can you make?
I would love if you would make.
Well, see, that's what I want, I would want to have a motion that says, like, we would approve, it's an extra what? 5,640, because it's gonna.
No, it's an eight, they're asking for an extra
10,000
5,000.
to 15,000.
So, but I don't want to set a number for that vacation. I'd rather we approve whatever. Oh, God, how would you?
It's a hard because it's a policy.
You
You
know.
have to set it and then
Yeah.
you hope that it won't exceed.
I mean,
The
I
way
have
that
an
they-
idea. I mean, it's pretty easy to figure out what that number's gonna be, because we can base it off of our hourly rate, plus the employee handbook tells us how many vacation days we're gonna get.
Sure.
So if you were to just say that, Ash has permission to give us in the budget what it would cost to cover those particular hours at those particular rates every year, we'd be set.
That's what I'm looking for.
And that's very much what
Yeah.
I'm asking.
Hey, can I make that motion?
Well, I'm making it.
Or I'll
What
second
is
it.
it?
Yes, that's what I want to do is so you have the power to, the numbers already, just make it happen, basically. So
You're
what
saying
Dave
like
said,
the verbiage,
I'll
of
say
like
it
the
again.
summation of the
But that
hours
should
times
be
the rate.
Adjusted in the budget every year.
Yeah,
As
and
the salaries
adjusted,
go up.
Yes.
adjusted.
Instead, I don't have enough money for vacation.
But it should be a line item and it should be worked into their budget,
Yep.
just like
It'll be
everything else.
adjusted
That's your
on a
motion.
yearly basis in the budget, yes.
You need a motion.
And
But
I
in the
second
mean,
it.
not to cut you off, but in the meantime, this would go into effect to get us to where we need to be.
Right,
This-
yeah, I want to take care of you now, and then that's the extra. So,
Okay.
Moved by Cobal, second by Renslow, how do you vote? Patrick,
Yes.
Dolly,
Yes.
Cobal.
Yes,
Morgan.
Yes.
Renslow.
Yes. Can I ask one more quick question? What's the status of your guys' body cams and
Zero.
vehicle cam and dash cams?
I mean, that was something that we had requested for in the money from COVID, so. we
But I
don't
think
have
that was
it.
at the time they were somewhat working. I don't
Yeah,
think that it's
The
been brought to our
body
attention
cameras,
that
the body
none of them
cameras
are working.
kind of were working, but they were on their way out. We
Yeah.
knew that they weren't gonna be working.
But now we have a situation where none of them are working.
We have no video.
They
And
had,
these are
they
things
had a
that
problem
cost.
out at the station and went to
No,
court.
no, I
No
understand.
camera.
I mean, but the problem is, and this is what we talked about during the COVID stuff, I mean, the amount of money that it takes to get just the body cameras alone, we're talking tens of thousands. And then to add that to vehicles as well, another tens of thousands. So that's why we tried to get it into the COVID problem, because I thought that was the perfect opportunity, because the federal government allowed that usage for it. But that's what we wanted. So
we did radios out of that.
we did radio and computers, which we needed desperately too. But yeah, I mean, we've we've always been lacking in that front. I mean, even, we were some of the first law enforcement agencies in the county to use body cameras. I mean, I'm talking back when it was me, Allgreen, and Harding, but we bought our own. I mean, we literally had to pay for our own. That was when you could get a body camera for $90 from a police supply. Now they're, thousands of dollars.
So, just for like the next meeting, could you just put a proposal, and I'm not saying that we're gonna do it, but just let us know something, what it looks like cost-wise? Because, I mean, I don't think we need to do both right away. I mean, I know we need them, but we need some kind of protection.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Can we just like get some numbers,
Yeah.
something, I don't know, to even start looking at?
Yeah, I can get a quote together from a couple different places.
Just something to talk about or to look at and figure, I don't know. I mean, to me, it's a huge risk not having body cams in this day and age. That's my opinion.
It's definitely a liability issue.
How long did they go out, Chief?
How long do they what?
How long did the rest, because you said they was working a little bit, but how long have you been without?
I think when we were talking about the COVID money, we maybe had one working body camera and the rest of them were out. And we talked about that. But the issue is so the body cameras that we currently have that don't work, they're from a company that's overseas. They don't provide really a whole lot of, it's just a mess. To get the system that we would need. So when we were doing the COVID thing, we were trying to get systems that would communicate. So our computers are GTAC, that's the brand. And we wanted to get GTAC cameras that would work with those systems because then it eliminates some of the screens and things that you would need because the computer can do it for you. So really all we have to pay for would be the cameras. And then the body cameras actually hook into that system. So like if I were to flip my lights on, my body camera automatically turns on, so does my car camera. It all saves onto the computer. It's all works together. So when we go to court, not only can I say at this precise time, this is the view from my car, but this is the view from me. And it kind of, makes it all work together. Yeah, so it's really neat, but it's not cheap.
And it's not so much the equipment, it's the storage.
The
correct?
storage
It's
is what
the
makes it so
storage
expensive,
that's
yeah.
the expensive.
So when this all first started, you could get these little tiny body cameras that were, they would store data for a little while and you'd put it on a computer and it would work. Now this stuff, we're talking in terabytes of data within months.
Yeah.
So just the mere storage of that alone, you're talking, huge hard drives. And we have to store it for a certain amount of time because legally it's evidence. So we have to keep it for a minimum of 5 years for certain pieces and life for other pieces. Basically, if it's available to be appealed in court, we have to have it. So that means we have to store that data. Even if it was just a little traffic stop, we have to store that video for 10 years, 15 years, whatever.
Did we apply for that Cassie County grant for that?
That was part of the cameras. You could do,
Okay. In conjunction with that, Matt, because you have so much time, can you just quickly search and see if there's any grants or anything to help cities out? If you have time,
So you
just
would-
in the next month or whatever, and,
That would work here. At least get a quote and some
But yeah,
information on the CD.
sorry, that's a
So we
little
can
bit
get
off
this
topic, but
Functionality.
Yeah, I can do that.
Might as well do that, so.
You got any information on us, Dave, on that?
I don't have any updates. The last time I talked to him was the same, that he was gonna be putting up the armadillos when he had time, I believe. I saw some devices that looked like them. I think they're out. I mentioned to Ashton, we had our meeting, might be a good idea if you guys wanna continue this to maybe set up a committee or something. So that there's people from different areas that can be in these discussions. But
there was
that's,
some discussion given at the joint meeting about this Tim Whipple guy.
Yeah.
And maybe Chip Schultz, and
Chip will be able to make it tonight, but,
apparently he's supposed to be available by phone
yes.
when we get to that point.
Yes.
Okay.
So, that it for them? Thank you, Tim.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Dave.
Dave.
Okay, 14, resolution number 2333C. Anything to say on this grant?
That's a grant that we received for the utility for the water. We just have to advance that procedure through the city, just for money.
Motion?
Yes.
Safe routes? Is there safe routes?
For like the
The water, no, no, for me.
water main.
Water main. Oh, okay.
If that's, okay, so if it's for the water tower and the water main, why are,
It's one budget.
I know, but why, isn't that a utility board thing?
It has something to do
No,
with
it
the
has to go
finance.
through the city.
Yeah, it has to go through the, because they go in, so.
On the get-go, it has to go through the city.
But we're, oh,
You receive the money, you give it to the utility.
okay.
Okay, move by Cobble. Second by Morgan, how do you vote? Patrick?
Yes.
Sullivan?
Yes.
Cobble?
Yes,
Morgan? Yes. Renzo?
Yes,
Okay, 15, health insurance, Ash.
That's the annual thing we get every year. And the council's done, so I asked me to avoid. I'm just kidding. This is, one,
Yeah, sure.
I'm just kidding. Every year we get that percentage of increase. Actually, last year we were lucky, we didn't increase it. So I applied what was in the budget increase to this year. It's $57.72. I got it here.
Did the utility already pass this?
Yes. Utility bad and just city used to ask it now with the employees. You want to authorize me to do
I'll let somebody else do that.
it? I'm just kidding.
I had my one shot, so.
No, I just, I need a motion for okay with the employees. I'll make my motion.
Moved by Morgan.
I'll second it, I'm not okay with that, but it's
How do you
necessary.
vote?
what it is.
Patrick?
Yes.
Dolly?
Yes.
Cobble?
Yes.
Morgan?
Yes.
Renzo?
Yes,
Okay, 16, city utility.
That's IT service for city and utility. Mike Morgan is moving on with his life. But you're gonna get a higher position. IT. We don't need to talk about it. So we have to search for another IT firm to help us. Use the Panova fiber telco. He gave us a proposal that you see in the packet for 110, something like that. So we work with them on an hourly basis. The $100, 106, that's split between city and utility. So anytime he come work hourly, it's always half and half.
so what does Mike Tiernan do for us?
Yeah, I was gonna ask that too.
It's website stuff, right?
I'm not sure.
I thought he was an IT guy. Did we reach out to him to see if he could?
No, he was not one of the ones that we did reach out to.
I mean,
We can.
I would like to see maybe if we could reach out to him. He does a lot of stuff with our website anyways.
It's the chamber's
Okay.
website. Just technicality.
I understand that, but it says the city of Stuart.
We
And it
can-
has all of
we
our
can
city
reach-
stuff on it, so it's.
We can reach out. That's
Yeah, I
not a
mean-
problem. In the meantime, we're just trying to get someone to help us with all these YouTube cameras and all the computers and all the stuff.
Can they help at night if
Yes.
Sarah has trouble? You can call and, you know.
That's what Mike is doing, they're gonna do the same.
I mean, I get it, but
It's-
Mike Tiernan is an IT guy right here in town.
It doesn't hurt to give a call, right?
Okay,
Yeah.
reach out to him,
If you
we
would.
can table this to the next
Okay,
meeting.
I will
Reach out to him.
That'd be my,
And don't we generally like to see, a couple of people that we reached out to?
We tried 3 firms reach out, but they were very expensive, so we gave you the cheapest one. But we will reach out to him and see if he's willing to do it. That would be great. Actually, I don't mind having him actually.
I'd like to give him a chance because he is local.
Is that okay time wise?
Yeah,
Would be
okay.
Okay,
Okay,
table that one then.
that's fine.
Okay, 17, proposed letter of engagement.
are we gonna put Chip on the phone?
If you would like to,
Well, I think he's supposed to be on the phone or he's expecting a phone call.
that's fine. Do you have the number? You have the number, Christina?
I don't have Chip's number.
You have it? I have it, I just have to go and get it unless someone has.
It's like
515,
Yeah.
554,
554,
7266.
7266.
Welcome to Verizon Wireless. The number you dialed has been changed, disconnected, or is no longer in service.
Do you have another number?
That's weird.
You don't have to push something for me.
Maybe pass in your phone so Chip's number's not on YouTube.
Too late.
Hey Chip, how you doing? Well, we tried your phone number, but it said it was disconnected. They're gonna try you again, or do you wanna have him call us? Yeah, we better hang up because they're calling you. Okay. So is it ringing to you? Okay, I'll hang up, okay? You answer that one. All right, thanks, Jim. You have him now.
Chip Schultz.
Hi, Chip. Hey,
Chip.
Good evening.
Good evening, Chip. We are at the proposed letter of engagement, and you said we can call you if we need you, and we need you.
Okay. What exactly is the topic? I'm sorry.
We're talking about this joint meeting and the engagement with Allers with the Whipple and maybe some talk with using Brick if we need him.
Yes. What
Explain what's going on.
Well, I think there are engagements with both Steve Brick or Allers and Cooney to coordinate the legal aspect of the proposal to entertain a speed camera ordinance.
Plus
or a traffic camera ordinance.
Was there solar panel in there too or something?
Excuse me?
Was there some more solar panel stuff in that also?
I'll be honest, I don't have a copy of the engagement letter, so I'm not sure what was included in that.
I thought we were gonna ask him to look at wind turbine speed cameras and solar panel parks or something to see what the
The
feasibility.
contemplated exercise as a discussion point was to entertain a review of looking at speed cameras and then also to see if constructing solar panels as an energy source was a viable option for the utilities. And I don't know what's in the engagement letters, but that was what was proposed.
Yeah, and this is all stuff we talked about, I thought, at the joint meeting.
Right, it was, yep.
Okay.
So, are you willing to facilitate that then, or help facilitate that, Chip?
Yeah, I am. We would need to provide an engagement agreement to the city as well. With the compliance process we have to go through, I just wasn't able to get it prepared for tonight. But our goal would be to coordinate and kind of quarterback the process and then work on the various discussion items from just a financial point of view to provide alternatives to the city council and the utility board as to what the various financial considerations and alternatives would look like to help the council and the utility board just have informed policy decisions as you evaluate these proposals.
Okay. And you mentioned something about Brett, Christina is.
Yeah, I think I thought he's gonna chime in if he needed to because of the back and forth between the, like, you know, because Brick is, or whatever, I don't know. I don't know. I just know that at the joint meeting, we had talked about engaging with this guy.
Yeah,
right.
And he brought you
And
the
this is what he
cost.
brought.
That's the cost. We came to the conclusion that we wanna know how much it's gonna cost.
Yes.
That guy brought you his hourly rate. You don't have to do anything if you don't want to. We can wait for Chip is gonna have the same thing engagement letter too. We can table that item until next month where we'll be receiving from Chip his engagement letter too, and Chip will be facilitating these things. We can go with that lawyer that you have his information we can go Steve Rick, he's already our city attorney too.
And okay, so we don't need to know, I mean, I don't wanna sound like we don't need to know, but do we need to have, like a letter like this with him putting his hourly rate?
Are you talking about Steve Rick? We've
Yeah.
already
We
engaged with
can.
him, so.
Okay, so
That's moot.
okay, that's what I was getting at, do we need
We
something like
work
that?
with him already.
Okay.
So Chip, will you be able to give us that engagement letter for next meeting?
Do we need to have,
I would be glad to, you bet.
do we need to have a
And I-
joint meeting in between so we can discuss these items when he gets to, so I should say, do we need to have a joint meeting with the utility board once Whipple is done so we can discuss all the findings and what is going to become, or whatever, the end result, what they find?
Meeting anytime you want. In the meantime, if you don't act on the engagement letter here, it doesn't take any effect.
Right.
Because we go and get Chip approved too, the process so he can facilitate. And then we're gonna inform the board too, with what we're doing now, here in two days. We're gonna inform them the same thing. So all we need is just Chip to give us that letter to approve.
Right.
We meet in 3 months, so we met what, in September?
Quarterly, so September.
So
So
we
we're
meet
back.
you here
So
next
we'll-
month or the months after.
So we can have a
Yeah.
joint meeting in
We will,
November
because-
so we can talk about it?
Yeah, we will.
Okay.
Okay, Chip, so,
Okay.
when we hope to get your letter before the next meeting, I'm sure you can send it to me tomorrow. You're good at that. Do you have anything to add to that subject?
I do not, I would just add, we're at an early discussion point and just the evaluation of these proposals and just trying to get, information in front of the council as it becomes available, and we'll certainly come back with additional information as we move forward. So the council can have, a well-informed set of decisions.
John,
It sounds good.
Is this item gonna be on the utility board agenda
Yes.
Wednesday night?
Yes, I just mentioned that.
I think this Tim Whipple, I think the big reason why this Allers Cooney and Chip can correct me wrong, this guy kind of thinks outside the box for some of these ideas that maybe potentially could help us out with some financial burdens. So I think that's kind of his specialty.
Yeah, he explores all of it. And so he just comes back with a report saying, this is what it looks like, and you can take direction or not.
And I think the utilities as well as us,
But he'd be.
we need to look at some of these options or exasperate all the options. So it's one of those things we agreed upon where it's only worth a little bit, paying a little bit of money to look into these things if in the long run we could, strike gold.
Were we gonna have him look at speed cameras?
We
also?
were, it was speed cameras, wind turbines, solar panels, and we threw out their gas, or the gas thing, but that was a no-go.
Yeah,
So those three things
Yeah.
were the
Okay, I
things
just-
that he was gonna look.
We might come up with something else that's like,
Right.
Right.
our town, it is.
Okay, so we can have a joint meeting in
We will,
November.
as soon as we get all this information, because we're due for it.
Right,
We meet for
okay.
yes.
November would be out of the quarterly.
I think we must.
We had one in September. So I'm
September,
asking,
October,
can we
November,
have a
December, yeah.
joint meeting before November so we can sit down hopefully and
Yeah.
talk about this?
Yeah.
Anytime.
Anytime.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm asking.
Yes. Yes.
Is everybody okay with that?
I'm fine with
Okay.
that. Absolutely.
Are you three going to that meeting? Mr. Bowling,
What meeting?
this joint meeting, are you,
No, I'm asking for a joint meeting before our council meetings,
for utility?
for utilities and city to
But-
meet together.
Right, but there's three of you that's talking about this, so how did you guys get all this information?
Because this is what we discussed at the joint
The
meeting
last
last
joint
month.
meeting, yeah.
And I was a little lost, and Mr. Morgan was too, but having the special meetings or the committee that we, if you guys could kind of like explain.
Nobody met outside of here. This has all happened last month at our joint meeting when we sat here with the utility board members and said, when Brian was talking about bringing this guy in, and we said, yeah, it'd be a great idea for him to explain or look into these issues.
Sure.
And there was 4 issues that we all discussed,
Okay.
but it sounds like the gas tax or the gas thing was a no-go. The gas, yeah, so.
Sorry, I was confused because I thought you guys were meeting.
No,
You had a little committee because we talked about you guys.
No,
having
and I
a committee
wasn't
or
on
something.
that.
So,
We-
okay.
We do have a committee, so
We did. I thought that was
we
part of
meet
this.
and then
Okay.
we bring it to the joint meeting.
Oh, I got you. I was confused.
nothing to do with it. I'm just going off of our joint meeting that we had
Gotcha.
last month, that we said we'd like this Ash get an engagement letter, which is here, because this is what we asked for.
Sure.
That's what I was going off
I
of.
was just, yeah, I was a
And
little
Chip has helped
lost there for a
facilitating
second.
all of it also.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay, that's 18.
Hey, thanks, Chip.
Thanks, Chip.
Thanks, Chip.
Good job as always.
Thank you.
Matt Funk? Was he sleeping back there for you?
Is there any way we can move him to the front of the agenda, just like we give the courtesy of Mr. Henderson? If he has something, can he be at the front of the agenda?
He does, he usually.
So, I submitted my report. Any questions on that? Okay. And then the only other item I got is the rag rye. Don't know if you was able to. Don't know if you got any of that information or not, but rag rye potentially coming through town. They're asking Stuart if they want to be a host to the community. I didn't know if that's something.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, yes.
do.
No, we didn't host it. Well, are we gonna be an end point?
Oh, you mean like
Or
a
are we
stopping
gonna be a
point?
pass-through? Because there's a difference. Are we an end town or are we a pass-through? Or we don't know.
Becoming a host town. is what they-
Yeah, I mean, that's a big deal.
So, but it does require 80 acres of campground.
Oh.
It's a big deal. It's not a-
Nation as a whole.
You got soccer fields?
I
Does
can
it
say
have to
we
have
got
electric?
soccer field over there. So,
Yeah,
Does it
usually
say that we
he
have to
gave
provide
you this-
electricity?
He gave you this information every year.
Just got this in on Friday.
It's a
So,
big deal.
Is it something that you can see? Because, I mean, we have plenty of options. It's just whether you have to provide
I
electricity.
could look into it.
That would be great.
and so this says a host town is either overnight or pass through. So,
This says that the deadline's October 31st.
Yes, and running out of time extremely quickly. Okay,
I mean, for me, I would think that if we're a host town and we need 80 acres of land, we gotta know if it involves electricity or not.
so I can check into it more.
And host 2,500 vehicles, trucks, trailers.
It needs bigger town. We looked at it before we really decided.
Great field the other day.
You need to have like.
Yeah,
it's
and
kinda-
I'm sure you could find one. Again, if you have campers, are these campers bring RVs and expect to be able to plug into something? That's where I was going.
We were a pass-through town. I believe the chamber was the one that took it on. But the city city generally has to give a support letter of support. So I will communicate with the chamber and see where it goes from there.
Sure.
Thanks.
Okay, all right,
No worries.
that's all I have. Thank you.
Hey, are you gonna tell everybody else about what we got? Envision it, your roadway thing?
Oh,
That's a big deal.
I was gonna, they haven't given us an official letter or a public announcement yet, but we did get the community, they call it a grant. So the steering committee will be getting together. That's how we got the Safe Routes to School sidewalk. So we applied for it last year and did not get it. Applied this year and we did get one of 10 communities.
I got
One
an
of 10.
email saying that we were
That's for
selected.
to inform the steering committee, people that agree to be
Okay,
on
so
the
maybe
steering
that's what
committee.
you said. Sorry,
And then,
I was excited.
no worries, I haven't received the official letter for a public announcement
Okay.
yet.
Thanks, Sue.
All right, thank you.
I was excited about it.
Okay, public forum. Then general public, yep.
On the website, which I know you discussed this, could you change the council meeting from 6:30 to 6? Because that's what I went off of, because it was at 6:30. And you guys moved it up to 6. I know it says on top of the agenda.
And so
but-
did
It
I.
hasn't been
And
changed.
so did I.
Yeah,
Yeah.
several places on the website it says 6:30.
We get mad to do it, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else have any here?
Thank you.